waiting for Nancy and Becky should be here too.
I'm here.
The other Becky.
The attorney Becky.
Oh,
Yes.
oh,
she's
sure.
got-
Oh, well. That might be better for you.
I did start it.
Okay.
You want me to?
No, I just wanted to know if we were ready. Should we wait then for Becky to show up? Is she
Let's start with
coming,
the
or we can
preliminaries.
go?
I talked to her last week and they said they were coming, so.
Yeah, we moved our meeting for them.
Yeah.
I flew in last week and then flew out.
Okay, if we are ready to start, then we'll just go ahead and wait for Nancy, and when she comes in, we'll put her in on the agenda item appropriately. So, good afternoon, everyone. This is the meeting of the Town of Fort Myers Beach Cultural and Environmental Learning Center Advisory Board, commonly known as CELCAB, and it is Tuesday, January 16th at 3 o'clock, and I would like to call the meeting to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And beginning with Carrie, our new member, Carrie.
Hello.
Carrie Henderson, so she is present. Go ahead.
Becky Werner.
Sherry Smith.
Barbara Hill.
Ellen Vaughn.
Pat McCowan.
Jim Adderhold, advisory member.
Jeff Huggy, Town
Okay.
of Fort Myers Beach.
Thank you. First I want to acknowledge that Lori is obviously not serving as the CELCAB member, but we thank her so much for her years of dedicated service to the Mound House. And we miss you, Lori, if she's watching, but I just want to recognize the work that she's done in the past and all the volunteer efforts.
Do you have any idea how long she served on CELCAB?
I have no idea. I know it's been as long as I
About
have,
as
and
long
that's
as
been
I
like
have.
15 years.
Yeah.
And I've been about
Yeah.
20.
Well, you would know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
Sherry.
around 20
I was
probably.
going to say.
Yeah.
So kudos. I mean,
You're not that old.
we have all of these members that, such as Seals Bueller, who again dedicated all of her time,
Right.
not only as a CELCAB member, but also as a volunteer at the Mound House, and certainly Lori. So we missed their presence, but we're happy to see new members on our advisory board, Carrie Henderson and Pat McEwen. So Pat, welcome officially. Well, I know you came to the last meeting, but we actually had we both came in a good bit late, so I just wanted to officially
It's pronounced
recognize.
McCowan.
McCowan, okay, sorry,
That's
McCowan. All right, before we go to the approval of the minutes, we've just received the director's report. So I want to give you all an opportunity to kind of look at that, to make sure that you see the work that Jeff's been doing with regard to the Mound House specifically.
I didn't get a copy.
That's this one right here. It's a one-page. You should. Yeah.
Not in there? Yeah, I think. Yeah.
I don't think
No,
that one-
she did not get one.
This?
That's it.
Oh,
This one page
yeah,
here.
Thank you.
Okay, so is this what council now receives? Is this their report?
They'll receive, they have a different one that we sent out with the Cultural Parks and Rec one. But
Oh.
it'll have the numbers on here starting next
Okay,
week.
so that's the one we got, like say when we were at Bay Oaks.
Yeah, it'll be similar to that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll be expecting one like this to come with the packet in advance in the future.
Yeah, it'll be more like the one we had for Bay Oaks, more of a report than just numbers.
And we'll get it in advance of the meeting.
Yep.
Okay. So go ahead and look through this. If you have any questions, we can address that when Jeff gives his report. Primarily about
On year-to-date,
attendance
do
and
we have any
programs.
comparison to previous
Well,
years?
we can ask questions of Jeff during the director's
Oh,
report.
sorry.
I just give you an opportunity now just to review this before the rest of the meeting starts. So let's go on to approval of the minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes?
Yes.
I have an issue. I think the meeting was not called to order by Vice Chair Werner.
It certainly was not.
So that was
And I'm not the
either,
vice chair.
I missed that.
that was either, you
It was
know,
me.
Sherry or it was Becky. So which of the two
It
is
was,
this?
it was me.
It was
was
Sherry.
Sherry.
It was Sherry.
It was
Sherry, okay.
I didn't catch that, wow.
I didn't either.
I just like seeing my name in print, I guess.
I was reading this over and I was realizing that I wasn't even in attendance
Right, yeah.
when we did
When
that
we
whole
got you.
reappointment.
Yeah,
It's kind of
yeah,
like I
yeah.
walk in and say,
Yeah,
okay, you've already
exactly.
been renominated. So that's
Yeah, you were here for public comment.
right.
That's-
Okay, I don't think I have any other amendments. Does anyone else?
no.
A motion to approve?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Okay, Sherry, thank you.
I'll second.
Second? Okay, seconded by not Vice Chair Becky. All in favor?
Aye.
By saying aye. Motion passed unanimously, thank you. Public comment, and the audience is there, but I see you're nice up here and cozy, Joe. Joe wants to be part of the board clearly, so you're pretty up close and personal. Don't you start voting on me, because I'll miscount.
I won't vote. I didn't say I either, so.
For the record, Joe was not on this advisory. Okay, so we do have Joe with us this afternoon, and now it gives you an opportunity to voice your opinion and say a few words. Joe?
Sure. My name's Joe Pugliese. I lived next to Newton Park for the last 9 years. So I'm well aware of everything that goes on in Newton Park and had to live with the good and the bad for all those years. Couple things I wanted to bring up in the planning for what's going to happen with Newton Park is that when the Newtons owned the property and my lot and my neighbor's lot, it was a shared driveway between the owners of the Newton Park and ourselves. There's a 20-foot there, that's the only access to my property, and it was considered a private drive all those time. But at some point in the last several years, they turned it into 17A as a beach access, but it's really a private lot that we both shared, we both maintained, we did all that for all those years. So you guys need to keep that in mind when you consider what you're planning on doing with it, because I have to have access to my property. And that's the main thing, but I could tell you all the good and bad things that happen at the park. So. I've seen the homeless, I've seen them do everything. you can
So
do.
Joe, you're on the north side?
South side
South
of the
side.
park. South side of the park, right.
It's his house is the gray house that's right there.
Yeah, we talked a few months ago outside the
Yes.
Diamond Head. And
Yes.
Yeah, oh, that's right,
A little
yeah.
bit there, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it is an issue that obviously needs to be addressed legally to determine, you know, what is rightfully yours and what is rightfully the town of
Right,
Fort
I do
Myers
have
Beach.
opinions from the attorneys when I bought the house and all that stuff, they did all that. And so
Good,
basically
and
it's a-
so you may have done that with the attorney, but
Yeah,
I
you
just
got the
question
town
whether
probably-
the town
should
is
probably do it
aware.
also too.
So I think that bears further investigation. Obviously, we're all, as are you, interested in looking at what will be a site plan for Newton Park, and we've been told by staff that it's a little premature, you know, they're still
do have
using
an update
that
on that
property.
from mine.
You want to speak to that, Jeff?
But-
I'll wait for mine, this is public comment, so we don't want
I
to.
just because it's so good that you're here. Just so I understand. So it's you're on the south side of but would you say there's a driveway that
There's a 20-foot drive.
that Newton Park shares with you, or
Yes.
and it's a beach access in addition to the one on the other side?
So
Not-
that
not
wasn't,
beach
it wasn't
access.
always a beach
Yeah.
access. They made it a beach access at some point in the last several years. Before that, it was always a shared drive.
Did they make it a beach access with your permission, or
No, they just put a sign up.
Oh, okay.
That's what they call it,
So his,
17A.
when it comes in, here was the front parking lot.
Yep.
So it's this access right here, that's his drive, and he goes in here to his house.
Oh.
That's his
This
driveway.
continues on, as his driveway, and then this continues on to beach access 17A.
Okay.
So, yeah, we can definitely look at that. I was not aware that we had any concerns, or, I know that was, your concern was your driveway and access, but we'll have to look at that a little closer.
And now's a good time to do it, because obviously, you know, we've got a little time between now and
Yep.
when we can begin to redevelop Newton Park and hopefully rename it and, you know, improve it, but I guess the, yes.
Since we have the next door neighbor here, you know, you're generally allowed 3 minutes, you got some time left, do you want to kind of just share what you would like to see at Newton Park as a neighbor?
Well, a couple things. No place that the homeless can sleep, because I have them wake me up all hours of the night. I listen to them snore, the damage, the whatever. Because if you have any kind of structure that they can sleep under, they will do it. Or anything that they can damage, they will. The walkways, don't make them out of shells. Everyone complained about the shells, walking on the shells. It's very hard, people come from the beach, especially little kids walking on the sharp.
Because they still don't have shoes on.
They don't have shoes
Yeah.
on, so make them out of sand or rubber or something like that.
These are really nice that we have here.
Yeah, these are very nice here. Garbage cans, when you do put them, you need to put them close to the beach where the trash is. But you have to have cans that close, because the rats climb right in there at night. I watch them go right up the side and go in there if you don't have self-closing ones. And you need to anchor them, because they will float away like they did in the last storm. They haven't come back.
They have not.
You have a lot of damage to the entrance to that driveway, because the big heavy sand trucks were coming in. That's all cracked up from the trucks. That wasn't like that after the hurricane. That's strictly all from the trucks. The damage to the cement pad and to the bricks. That's all new damage.
And a question for you, not to interrupt, but so would the people that are renting that from you guys, from us right now, would they have to fix that? Because that was not like that right after the
We
hurricane.
can talk to them about it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the state that kind of took it over, so.
Okay,
It could be part of the FEMA funding, would be the
Right.
replacement of that. I don't know for sure, we'd have to ask Tidal Basin, but, yeah, we can.
okay.
So Joe, do you remember when they created the beach access 17A?
No, I don't. It was, the sign just went up all of a sudden several years ago, and they just put a sign up that said 17A, it was the beach access.
And it was
Should
a walking
that come to
path.
CELCAB?
There's no
No,
parking.
no, the walking path was there, but at the main entrance,
the
when you
main
come in,
entrance.
they put up a big sign that said 17A.
So you come in the entrance and there's a sign and there's a pathway, because you can't drive your car down there.
Right.
Right. Did people?
Oh, yeah, people still do.
Okay.
They pull in there all the time right now.
So Barbara, should that,
But there's opportunity to put like vegetation there and a walkway from the parking lot.
Yeah, that's what
instead
happened
of-
before.
Yeah, that's what I mean,
Yeah,
people
vegetation
didn't
and
drive
stuff.
all the way to the beach.
Yeah.
It was,
And you-
there was
yeah,
vegetation.
you have an access on the other side. Right in the
Strandview.
parking?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
so why, I
So-
can't understand why they
yeah,
would
so
put
should
that
that
up.
have come to
That's-
CELCAB when the
That's a
town
great
was making
question,
the
Sheila.
decision?
I was thinking the
Should
same
what?
thing.
The
Yeah,
decision,
yeah,
discussion
there's a
about
access.
creating 17A, should
So-
that have come to CELCAB for discussion?
I think it's a
Before it
legal
was done?
question. Yeah, if it
Yeah,
doesn't belong to the
well, I
town.
don't
But that
know
was
when that
crab
was
at the
done,
time.
even if that was the purview
crab.
of, well, because, you know, CELCAB sort of embraced it
Inherited.
pretty late in the game, and I think that access was already there by then. But in any event, I think now in terms of going forward, let's just make sure that staff understands where Joe's property is and isn't. And again, we're all waiting to see the proposed site plan that incorporates all of the suggestions that you make, but Joe, along with all the things that we've been talking about for some time too, about bringing it back the way it was in terms of what is offered. Again, as a passive museum space.
Yeah, and it obviously has to go back to passive education and recreation. So we're gonna put
Exactly.
some kind of recreation there, and it's gonna have signs, and
Good.
we're not sure about the actual structure there. Even putting one there at this point, we're just not to that point
Yeah.
yet. So
Okay.
it could be, if it is, it's gonna have to be 15 feet off the ground.
No one wants that.
No one wants that, but it's also our
What about a tiki sort of structure?
tiki
That
huts,
would
and
be
tiki
okay?
huts will go back.
Okay.
We already have those like almost on order. We have the quotes for those for when we do get them back. So
Okay,
I
good.
think we were also having a conversation about a temporary tent that could be placed on the site where Seven Seas house was. So when we do a proposed site plan, that there would be an ample space set aside for special events, for weddings, for,
Yeah.
you know, things that the town wants to sponsor or present that wouldn't be appropriate for any other park, because that is key beachfront property, and if we can do fundraisers there and bring in some revenue by putting the tent in, and a good sized tent, and then have it come as is needed, is number one, a cost saving. Number two, is less apt to be a problem with regard to vulnerability of storms. So, and also it prevents the homeless from, taking camp. And I guess I have a question too about, I'm sorry?
Can I make a comment? Even
Sure.
though 3 minutes is up? That's great having events there, and I don't mind weddings and stuff like that, but the town needs to make it an easier process. I actually had my reception in Newton Park in the building when I got married, and the paperwork that I had to do, I had to get a special insurance policy, I had to go all through.
I think we've been trying to streamline
Yeah,
that for
there's
some
gotta be an
time.
easier way to do
And
that.
that's here at
It's
the
getting a lot
Memphis.
better.
It's getting better, that was 6 or 7.
I've had to fill out a lot of those special events for other properties around town, and they aren't
But
as.
yeah, the insurance, the people didn't want to, the insurance companies didn't want to insure, like, what do you have to get?
Yeah, you do have to have your own
I'm
insurance. on
curious
that.
too, Joe, if we had one or two really artfully, tastefully done swing sets that you couldn't sleep on, that would have bought the seawall, so you'd be facing, so if you wanted to swing while you're watching the
I think
sunset,
that's,
as a neighbor, would that cause you any
I
heartburn?
prefer that it was a little further north.
Yeah. On the other
And
end.
it would be where the bocce ball courts are.
Yeah, there you go, that's a good spot where the bocce courts were.
Okay,
Yeah.
because we have to have a recreation element,
Yeah.
and that might help us.
You know, the bocce courts was
Okay,
a great idea.
I'm sorry, Robert.
I think Sherry has a
Just
question.
a quick personal question is, on the town benches, my husband's bench was there. Is there a plan to replace those? Do we have to reapply?
No, they already should have. I can check with Floor
Okay.
at Public Works. We already did replace a lot of the ones that were lost.
Okay.
They had record of who they were.
Oh, excellent,
Let's
excellent.
find out where it is actually right now, because
Okay.
they did replace a lot, like in Times Square, we put more
Yeah,
for
right.
seating. They
Where
put-
was that bench here? Just
Where was
It was
it?
actually-
Jeff?
It was on the cement slab that you had the fence around it, and then there was a bench behind, it was
Yeah.
on the slab where you kind of walked down to the beach.
Yep.
And it shared with another one, there were two of us on it.
Yeah.
That's where the
Yeah,
seawall was, or is?
Yeah, yeah,
So I was just out of curiosity.
yeah.
Yeah, and they are
seawall's
starting.
still there.
I think, can't remember how
That's
many.
the seawall thing, the little, it's all still there.
The seawall,
Yeah.
but the bench.
No,
if
not
you
the
ever-
bench,
yeah.
no, no.
Yeah, but the benches should be replaced at no additional cost. to
Okay,
them.
and
Right, they
for
are, the
and
ones
for
that were
the
there
people-
before, we're replacing them, no additional cost, and then we've had applicants, I think like
New
40 of them
ones.
for new ones too. So-
Okay.
Really?
Oh, really?
Excellent, thank you.
So we're replacing all the ones, we're not, obviously it'll be free.
Do you
for the ones
remember,
that are-
does he need to know exactly what the bench said, just so? could
Yeah,
you-
it
you wanna-
said, it always our Top Gun. And then my husband's name, David Smith.
Always our top gun. That's important, we wanna make sure we honor
Yeah.
that, yeah.
And when we put it back, if they already put it somewhere, we can relocate that.
Okay.
Back to Newton.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
They've replaced a lot of them, put some down at Bayside,
Yeah.
some down at
Okay.
Times Square.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, so let's go move on. If anybody has any questions before we move on, we're going to, obviously the attorney has not yet arrived. She may have decided it might have been at a Bay Oaks gym instead of here.
I sent her the
Clear
agenda
about-
with everyone else's.
Let me just call her real quick.
I don't know
Yeah,
if this is
but
a-
in the meantime, we can go to a staff liaison report, and that would be Jeff.
Yeah, so I'll start with, actually, since it's part of my one for today is Newton Park. I just, before the meeting, talked to two people. I talked to ICS, who was in charge of the berm project. So the actual berm project is complete, at least for the Newton, as far as Newton Beach goes. Now, there's a second element to that, would be the beach renourishment process that they haven't got to start yet. The berm project got pushed back because of bird season. So in, I think it's June, March maybe, they're gonna start the beach renourishment.
I thought it was after turtle nesting.
And then
They're gonna start at the north end of the island as opposed to.
they'll
the
start at
south.
the, yeah, and then, so it probably we won't have access to Newton Park for like 6 to 8 months again. Cause everything got pushed back. So that doesn't mean we don't have full access. I talked to Chad Schutz, our environmental person, and we can do a portion of it back to a path at least leading back. And so we can have beach walks, we can have,
I'm sorry, Jeff. Madam Chair, I have the town attorney on the phone. There's a misunderstanding, and she didn't know she had to be here for this meeting, but she's happy to do the briefing if you want to have her. I can just put her on speakerphone. There she is right there. Becky,
well-
hold 1 second.
Or we could table it for the following month.
What would you prefer?
let's table it.
I think we should table it. It's great to have an in-person where we can do a little, you know, back and forth.
I'm just gonna table it and do it
Yeah.
next.
And let's table her for the next month. Make sure she's on next month's agenda.
It's gonna be, the way the CELCAB one went and the way the other ones have gone with that sunshine law thing, where it's gonna be a bigger conversation than just over the phone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I remember the one that she did for Bay Oaks, and it was
Yeah.
very thorough.
And I don't know if
We did have
anybody,
a lot of
and I can just
Q&A.
briefly speak to that. But I'll let her clarify some of the things. One of the questions that came up was the partnership with the Friends, any Friends, and advisory board. And I guess in not her words, but we need to draw a little better linear line in the sand. Like we shouldn't really even be having the Friends of Mound House report on our agenda, because then we'd have to have, I know we're tied directly to the Mound House, but it'd be like having anybody else come through. We'd have to put it on the agenda for a presentation, or if you want to speak, or the Friends has to speak, but we can put it on there for sure. We can, the way it's going to work is, the staff will come to the Friends, maybe a board meeting or something, and request items that we may need, or put together a budget like we've talked about.
Could a representative from the Friends speak during the public comment period?
Of course, yeah.
Since
Or
we
they
al-
can,
We
or
always have one here.
or they can request to be on the.
And that's the way it was in the past, pre-COVID, pre-Ian. Yeah, because I would be asked to come and speak, because I was not a member of CELCAB at that time.
Yeah,
But I would
yes,
be asked
yes,
to come
yes.
and present.
Right,
Yep.
exactly.
So
That was a
that's-
far better, that
Yeah.
was a nice little space literally between the two one advisory board and one nonprofit board.
Right.
So yes, of course.
Yeah, because
Be
it
better
gets
at
a little
that.
murky with the Friends being on the board and being on here, so we're trying to figure that out on a legal standpoint.
And I think at this point, because you're no longer on Friends Board,
I am not on the board.
and you're not on the board.
Yes, she
You are
is.
on the board.
I'm secretary.
Okay, so we have two people who are
Three.
three. Wow, that is an issue.
It's,
We
it's,
have-
it's turning in. it
We
sounds
have,
like
in
it's turning
terms of the 1920s, we have interlocking directories.
Yeah, well, then that's problematic for government. So this is an issue because that's virtually, well, not quite, majority, but pretty close to majority, where CELCAB members are on the board of the Friends. It presents a problem. It is a sunshine law issue. And the reason is that if Friends would like to have CELCAB vote on something, they obviously will have had the conversation as board members, which is basically doing CELCAB business, which is counterproductive and
against the
not
law.
against the law.
Yeah, it's against the law.
It may be.
We should talk to Becky.
Yeah.
I have to also say, Friends tend to work their butts off for this place. We make money and we donate it to the Mound House, to the town, to
Absolutely.
be able to afford things that the town cannot. It's a little bit of, hey, stand back, we'll tell you what we can do and what we can't do. It's a bit of a rejection, I'm sorry.
It's not a rejection. No, it's the only thing that is an issue is double dipping.
It's double dipping, right? You're double voting on things or double voting.
Yeah, in other words.
I
Reject
the
double
term
dipping.
double dipping, because it's
It's
not
not.
double
No,
dipping.
it's not double
It's
dipping.
having
You're
two
not getting
voices, two votes on one topic, which is
Right.
not
Right.
double dipping.
Right, so,
I think we should, Becky's really good at finding ways to do things. So let's let her take a crack at it, Becky, our town attorney.
I would like her opinion
Yeah,
as to
yeah.
what we need to do now.
Yeah.
Because if we have three members on our advisory board who are also current members of the Friends Board, what is our next step to prevent legality issues?
So you
That's-
just don't have to be on the board. We still
Sorry?
could, we still
You can
just.
still, oh yeah,
we
I'm
can
a
still
member
be
of
a member of the
Friends.
Friends.
It's just, it's
Just
a
the board
decision-making
position.
body. It's a decision-making body. And
On
that's
the other
way-
hand, if CELCAB is going to go to the Friends and say, this is what we would like you to do,
Well, that's the way Allison always did it
right?
back then.
And then the Friends Board is not voting on it before CELCAB.
No, because we will have already predetermined what you would like, what we would like you to fund.
Right.
So you
And then we just-
normally, the programs are presented and proposed, brought to CELCAB. We then recommend, wow, this is a great season. These are the lectures. Here are the programs. Here's what's happening with the summer camp for kids. And this is where we need money, and we as CELCAB members discuss, wow, this is something the town is going to fund, and there are some requests, and we give maybe 3 possibilities or more to the Friends, and we vote as CELCAB members to say, well, these are areas that maybe the Friends can help us with. And then those ideas, those 3 ideas are presented to Friends, and then they vote on what they want to do, their preference. So, but it's already been voted and it's been proposed by staff, recommended by CELCAB and brought to council for a final vote. That's the way it should be done. And then Friends will look at those options and say, okay, we'll do that this year, but we're not going to do that this year, at which point we don't get to do that as CELCAB, or the staff would not get to do it because virtually there's no money there. So that's, in a perfect world, that's the way it should be run. It's not currently being run that way, but that's the way it
But
should.
that means CELCAB votes, and then it goes down, finally goes to the Friends.
Absolutely.
So maybe the CELCAB people have already talked about it, the board members, and then it goes to the Friends. But you're
Well, see,
not
that's-
talking as a board first, and then coming to CELCAB.
No, it shouldn't be talked at. I mean, you can talk all you want, but you can't vote on something that we haven't yet discussed
Right.
as CELCAB members.
And we can, I mean, this is a discussion probably with the lawyers here.
Right, right.
Yep.
But I know she makes some good analogies last at CELCAB about, you know, even if you're in the corner talking, no one knows what you're talking about, it can get a little sticky. Even if you're talking about pecan pie.
Exactly, pecan
Yeah,
pie,
pecan
exactly,
pie. She'll-
exactly.
she'll like the reference, so, she talks about that, she actually talked to CELCAB about that, and I know we talked with CELCAB, because now we're starting up the Friends of Bay Oaks too, and kind of, I know Jesse had talked about, we had this conversation about not being on the board and not being on Bay Oaks, and he said, yes, then I would not be on one of the
Then
others.
he can choose which way area that he feels he'll be most useful.
Right.
If he feels, you know, if Jesse feels that he would be more productive or more benefit to the town by being ahead of, or on the board of Friends of Bay Oaks, then he would not serve on the advisory board, and vice versa.
Just be careful you don't extinguish the Friends.
Oh, no, well, and of course.
I know, but 3 people on the board, if they have to quit the Friends Board, I don't know what would happen.
Well,
Oh, we're not saying that right now.
Well, we're-
Okay,
Yeah,
I
I'm not saying
want you to
especially
think about that,
I
because
hope we're not saying that, because I love I love the symbiotic relationship.
It works so
And I
well.
like the fact that you're here, as well as you have liaisons with Fred.
Yeah.
It creates this communication and friendship that I think is really important. I mean, I understand the procedural concerns, but
yeah,
I think it's more of a sunshine law concern.
it's a sunshine law concern,
Yeah,
that's
it could
the
be,
issue.
it could be.
Yeah. Anyway, let's have her help us with that next month.
Yeah.
So we'll put that on the agenda. And yeah, I think to a person, we're all extremely grateful for what the Friends do. I mean, they are extraordinary and have been and will, I know, continue to be. Items for discussion. Oh, Jeff, are you through with your report? No, you're not through.
No, we were talking about Newton.
No, yeah.
We can definitely put it back a little bit here and there. We don't have a site plan or anything yet. We're not sure exactly what they're gonna need as far as Newton needs for the Brick Beach renourishment yet. So once we know that we can use a portion of that property, then we'll put back some vegetation, some signage,
But
parking, bathrooms.
But when you say put it back, are you talking about putting everything back exactly where they were before? Or are you talking about the town getting together and reimagining what is going to happen on that site, using all of those elements, but maybe not perhaps in the exact
I
same
don't
spot?
think it'll go back exactly like it was. I don't
Right.
think, we're not probably gonna have bocce there.
Right.
Just wasn't used as much. We will put vegetation back.
But there won't be a structure the same, there won't be a house there
I
anymore.
think this group ought to decide that.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. It'll come to CELCAB before we do anything.
Right, but I
I
just,
think, can I interrupt for a second? I played bocce ball there every week.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, we loved it.
Oh.
I mean, all the time, every
Well,
time we're here.
then that's gonna be up for discussion, what we want that to be.
sure.
I mean, that was fun.
You're the first person that we've heard from.
Yes.
I know that, yeah.
Well, I don't think anybody else really thinks about it, but there were other families I know that would play. But yeah, I mean, yeah.
I mean, if that's the will of CELCAB and
I'm
they
not
bring that to the
saying.
council.
I mean, I'm just saying. I wanted you to know. People
Yeah.
did use it.
I've never seen anybody use it.
Yeah, we did.
I think we need to come up with a mechanism so we find out what people are using things, because if it requires you being on this board for us to know that, that's not a good thing.
That's
We have to
not a
figure
good
out
thing.
How to get input in. What are people using? What do people, maybe the way to frame it is, what do people miss that they used to do at Newton Park?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And-
What would you like to see it be?
Right.
Right.
Well, that's another question, but I think if
No.
we first get at the issue of what was there and what was used and isn't there anymore, then the second phase of that can be,
Yeah.
then what would
And
you
what I
like to
get
have?
from emails and phone calls, it's restrooms and parking.
Yeah,
Restrooms and parking.
I'm
I
sure.
get asked
Yeah.
all the time from people that are there.
So the rumor I had heard is that Jeff and you and Jim may have been aware of some way to do restrooms that can be at ground level, but the plumbing is elevated so that it can still be accessible from.
Can it be a trailer that gets pulled out?
Yes, it could be a trailer that
It
gets
can
moved.
be.
I mean, I've seen some beautiful restrooms.
Yeah, I go to a lot of
Yeah,
concert
they
venues
are,
that are very
restroom
nice.
trailers, I mean, they aren't cheap for one, they're really expensive. I know we had, for TDC, we had budgeted 40,000, and that was for this budgeted year. I called now to get those back, and they're about $10,000 more per year, so you're talking 50,000 a year plus to rent, and then probably another 20,000 to clean.
So
yes, it is definitely possible.
I can't remember, in the last year-ish, you've had more conversations than you can keep in your brain. This person was explaining that you could have the physical, mechanical, toilets at grade level, but the plumbing for them was elevated in such a fashion that it would get above the flood zone. And I had gotten the impression that they had talked to the two of you about
Forgive me,
that.
Ellen, is this a temporary or permanent solution?
Permanent.
Okay, I've not heard that, yeah. I've not heard.
I wish I
that.
could remember who I had the conversation with.
I have to Google
Yeah,
it.
but the toilets were washed out on our ground floor. I don't see how it,
Oh, but that way you could reinstall bathrooms at grade level, which would make the ADA issues and all of that kind of stuff go away. If the whole issue with FEMA is getting the plumbing up so that you're not gonna have sewage messing into things. So if you could get that up however many feet it needs to be there, so that the wastewater gets,
well,
No.
how did Wahoo Willie's and Margaritaville have ground floor restrooms?
Margaritaville had to, that's why their pool is not open today, because FEMA came in and intervened, and they had to reinforce their restrooms, and I forget the term, there's a dry flood of the restrooms, and that's why the delay has occurred, because they had to reinforce those restrooms in a significant way, so they're not considered, they won't push and be debris that impacts other people adversely.
Okay, but that's
So
still.
why couldn't we do that with our bathrooms?
That's possible.
But
It is possible.
doesn't that still hold that that's in essence still ground? In other words, that's not being piped up, right?
That's right, yeah.
So, in other words, it probably means that we don't have to have that
I know
mechanism in
Tom
place.
did not want people to have to climb stairs to use the restrooms, and so that was a really big, that's why he kept the cigar hut,
Right.
so they could have it on ground floor,
Right.
because they had those grandfathered rights. But even with the grandfathered rights, FEMA came in and kind of changed the rules on them, and he was very frustrated, and that's why the delays, that's why that
Wow.
pool's not open
Oh,
today.
wow, that's good
But,
to know.
but I assume that option would be on the table for Newton Park.
Yeah.
It may be
Yeah.
a significant cost.
And we
I don't
could,
know.
we could have fundraisers and raise the money. It's better than trying to have something so high, and then the handicapped people, it's very difficult.
No,
We have a
I
lot of
agree.
people
I agree.
going to that bathroom, and I think that we need to figure that out.
Well, in fairness to Joe, having a temporary
Yeah.
restroom, it doesn't look very nice.
No.
I assume you don't want something like a temporary trailer for the next 20 years.
Plus it would be an ongoing expense just maintaining it.
That's right.
But that is a
Exactly, yeah.
VCB project. I believe VCB were the ones that provided the funding for the restrooms before the storm, and I suspect they're going to want to do that too. And obviously, the parking lot's going to stay where it is, and probably a few more spaces now that the house is gone. But again, you know, it's kind of like our having this discussion before we can even see a proposal. So I would like for staff to consider, I don't know, Public Works, I don't know who does park design. If you have to bring somebody back in with like a landscape design person, do an overall master plan, and we've got 6 to 8 months to do it. So this is the time now to do that plan.
We may be able to put things there before 6 to 8 months. We're just not gonna have access to the whole property. It'll be like a sliver, like,
Yeah, but
if this is Joe's house here, we may use vegetation and put it along his thing so we can block him.
You're talking about temporary things though, right, Jim?
It could be
But
like the
why
walkway we had.
Why would we not why are we not addressing the full piece of property now? And do it, so in other words,
we
if the
certainly
landscape plan is this, the pathways are this, these are where the botanical
can
gardens
certainly do
will
that.
go. That's what we need. That's, I think, what we've been asking for. Now that the house is gone, it's time to reimagine what is the best use of that property? And so is that something that needs to go to council, Jeff?
We would have to recommend it to council.
Okay, is it a
But
motion?
I think we have to figure out too, sorry to interrupt, is if we want a structure there, because that's gonna really determine.
I don't think, well, we've had this discussion before at previous CELCAB meetings, that we all determined that that was not feasible. It certainly isn't, especially in the next 5 years, because, you know, the town of Fort Myers Beach has many, many more important things to consider, like building their own town hall without building another bricks and mortar on this property. So I think for the next 5 years, say, let's look at what that property is going to be without a building. So you're going to, where are the restrooms going? Where are the parking spaces going? How many?
Tiki huts.
Where's the botanical gardens going to go? Is there going to be a tiki hut? You know, and that can be done if we can get staff and council to vote to put a master plan together to say, okay, this is something we can do in 8 months. This is where the landscaping is going. But just to put a line, say, okay, there's the border next to Joe's property. We're just going to put some plants there. That's kind of not.
It's a waste of money.
From my perspective as one council member, I think that is that's what this group should be charged with, and then bring a recommendation to the council.
Yeah, so
Okay.
when you're talking about that, we would then come up with something. You guys could modify it however you'd like. We could go in there with a recommendation that CELCAB does not want an elevated building in there, so we could at least give that option to the council, and that'd be a recommendation to the council. So.
All
I have
right,
a
so
client,
I think we can, because we've had this conversation, but we've never actually put it into a motion. So would anyone like to make a motion that we are preparing, would somebody like to make that motion? Then these are the elements that you want to have in the Newton Park property.
I would like to make a motion, oh, go ahead.
So moved.
All right, but
Wait a minute.
I'm not making the motion, I'm asking you to make the motion.
You have to make the
The
motion.
motion, as I understand it, is that the CELCAB be involved in designing a future version of what was called Newton House, which may be called something else in the future.
And I think that sounds good. I think, and you want to second that, Carrie?
Yeah, I'll second that.
I want to make the motion.
I want to make the motion to really come up with a plan for something for the next 5 years. And I have a client that's a landscaper. He does CAD. Why not? Why can't we have someone draw up stuff? I mean, as we're looking at it, and Barbara and all of us look at things. I mean, I don't understand why we're going to buy this and do that. Let's make a plan and let's move forward with it and have fundraisers so that we can make it happen.
Well, we
And that would
can't,
be something-
let's not talk about funding right
Oh,
now.
right,
because
okay,
that's
yeah.
a garbage-
That's another thing. Yes, sorry.
friends.
Yeah.
Fundraising is, the town has a budget
Yes,
for this. So it's what we're doing. And so who wants to make that motion? In other words,
Becky really wants to.
Becky wants to.
I would like to make a motion that CELCAB recommends to the town council that we would like to have them contract with a landscape park sort of designer to put in, to bring back some tentative plans that CELCAB can look at and then present our findings, to include a ground floor restroom and botanical garden, some sort of recreation such as swings or bocce or something, a couple of tiki huts with picnic tables, that sort of thing.
The
Good signage.
Interpretive signage.
Interpretive signage.
Yep.
The
and-
parking lot.
Which we can.
And the parking lot, and how can we do, and thinking about what is legally ours?
Oh, yeah. Like,
Where does the beach access go? All of those things need to be incorporated and brought back in a very tentative fashion.
Okay.
I second that.
All right, so
It
if you
seems
all.
to me that that's a very long motion,
It is.
It is.
that we need to try to find a wording that will be succinct.
Like a plan.
And
I would like to
a
recommend-
lot of that would be what you said right up front before we got into all the other stuff.
I would like to
That's
recommend
discussion.
that, and make a motion.
And I will drop my motion in favor of yours.
Okay,
So-
Carrie, you're dropping your motion too, because,
Yes,
okay, as Becky's making the motion, and it's been seconded by Carrie.
I'll second it.
What does the motion
She can't
say?
make the motion, she can't second it until she makes the motion.
Yeah.
No, but she's,
Okay,
yeah,
I'm gonna make
Becky's
it.
already
I'm
made the
dropping.
motion.
No, she
Okay.
made a long,
She made a
extensive
long
motion.
one.
She needs to, she needs
Just
to,
a
yeah.
minute. I would like to recommend, have CELCAB recommend to the town council that they contract with a landscape designer to come up with ideas for Newton Park
To be
Very good,
reviewed by
that's perfect.
CELCAB.
to be reviewed by
So
CELCAB.
should we ask
Okay,
for 2 to
and-
3 designs? Do we put a number on it?
Let's let them come up
To
with
put a
it.
number on how many designs, we'd like them to come up with 2
So
to
how,
3.
if I can- so what we've been doing with all our other projects, and anything over $25,000, we need to go out for RFP.
Bids.
So we get a scope from one company,
There you go.
and then we have to set it up for bid to the other ones once
Okay.
we're ready.
That's
So
perfect.
that might be a way to do it, just.
Yep, 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 yep.
Okay, so it's
You've
been,
been
the
in
motion
business.
made by Becky, and it's been seconded by Carrie. Any further discussion? None? All in favor? Indicate by saying aye. Opposed? None? Motion passed unanimously.
Can I just say one thing? There are things we-
Sympathies to the Scribner.
Yeah, just one thing, there are things we could do very soon, like parking, restrooms, that we could get out there before this even.
And they would be temporary.
But are they just gonna be those little nasty little things that like people walk into that we had sitting in front of our condo forever right by Newton
Like the
Park?
restroom trailers or the?
No, not the trailer.
Porta potty for
It'd be,
Yeah.
it'd be a trailer.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
And we can look at, TDC already gave us money for to rent some. We could look at purchasing one of those too, like we do on Palm Avenue. There was a temporary trailer there that got washed away from the hurricane, and we ordered one, but it wasn't the right one, so we had to send it back. And they're putting another temporary, it's not temporary, it's how it's gonna sit at Palm Avenue for a restroom trailer, so.
Are they nice? I mean, do they look good?
They can be as nice as you want them to be. I know we had one here that had music pumped in and.
That was the Cadillac version, right?
Yeah, I mean, we can purchase them.
Yeah.
The
My
second,
goodness,
the
some of
second
the
part of that
vintage
is
is
just
great,
maintenance
but-
of them, you know.
It's an ongoing issue.
I don't want it to be a standalone porta potty.
No,
That is- I don't.
no,
want it.
we're not doing that again.
Jeff, do we know, I know the town was underinsured, but do we have any insurance proceeds coming for the cottage in Newton Park that was destroyed?
We have some, I don't know the exact amount.
Yeah, we need to have it.
Good point.
We might be able to utilize those funds for the restroom, for a permanent restroom that looks nice. And I would think about that in terms of our budget too. If we get some insurance proceeds that we could allocate to those purposes, that would, I like the idea of having a temporary one until we do something permanent, because I do think that's a critical restroom area for people going up and down the beach. I'm sure, Joe, you'd appreciate. I promise you don't like the restroom, but at the same time, it's better than people visiting
Well,
your
we can put
property.
it at the other end and then you'll be okay.
Might be on my list to donate a little bit more money for a restroom there,
They
because
go in.
I'm sure people are going across the street.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's Publix.
Yeah.
And so the town wouldn't have a problem if they put in parking spaces in the restroom right away, only to have it reconfigured to be a better use of the property going forward?
The restroom's so important that I think, because it's the halfway point on the island, for people biking and walking and running up and down the
Yeah.
island, it's a very popular restroom.
Well, and if you put it closer to Strand View, it doesn't have to be in the old footprint.
That's true.
Yeah, exactly.
It can
You
go-
could go
yeah.
over by the long driveway that goes in where
I
everyone
think
parks
that's
over
an
there.
excellent
That's-
And then
suggestion.
it's on the other side of
the
Joe,
access.
it's away from him.
Yep, that's fine.
Yeah, it's just a matter of running new plumbing or new electric and.
And that can't be that far away, because I mean, the building wasn't that far away
Well,
from
I think
there.
having it adjacent to that
Yeah.
public access by Strandview is a perfect location for the restrooms. But then again, having to reconfigure, those parking spaces were put there because the house was there. Now that the house is no longer there,
Want to rethink it, yeah.
I mean, you've got a clean slate in terms of where those
And we also
parking
want to be
spaces can go.
sensitive to, I always was frustrated with, when the house was there was so much vegetation around the beach access that
Exactly.
it destroyed the view corridor. So for
Exactly.
people driving by or walking by, it's such a great opportunity to have a nice view corridor to the ocean.
Yeah,
And we always had all this scrub and
Yes.
stuff.
that's what we want.
We need to
Scrub
think
that
about
native
That was the
vegetation.
botanical garden.
But there's a way to make it pretty. We need to make it pretty.
Well, again, it's native vegetation,
Yeah.
vegetation that we're trying
It
to
seems to be
promote, for sure.
seems to me that Strandview ought to be also known to whoever's doing the scope of work, because that whole thing should be incorporated with as much parking as possible, I
Yeah.
think.
Okay, so those are recommendations then from CELCAB that would go to you and ultimately the council about, I don't know that any of this can be done for less than 25,000. For a site plan, it's not there are not a lot of options in terms of what we've already decided we want there. It's just a question of putting the puzzle together.
Okay.
So maybe we can do it for less than 25.
Hopefully.
So then that would go to staff, and then, I don't know, you give us a time frame as to.
And that all
when
could be
we-
covered by FEMA reimbursement too.
I would think so.
I would
Could
think
be.
so.
It's always a gamble, but yeah.
Yeah, it is a gamble.
Right. Okay. So,
The other thing would be a grant from the Florida Communities Trust, which did Newton in the beginning, and we need to reimagine it, and, that part's gone, what can we do to
Yeah,
replace it?
possibly. We're also working on a few things with them to acquire some property, I think, for additional parks.
oh, nice. Great.
Pocket parks.
Good.
That's
Oh,
lovely.
yes, wonderful. Okay. Jeff, continue.
I think that's probably.
You want to talk about these?
They kind of
Answer
speak for themselves, but
questions.
Adam, do you want to talk about your outreach a little bit? Can you just?
We had a question for Adam before. Did somebody want to, do you want to ask him about the lecture and whether that could get on the website?
Oh, and you probably should come up soon.
Is the lecture from last Tuesday on the website?
No, the lecture from last Tuesday is not on the website, but it can be posted. I haven't reviewed it for sound quality issues. As the sound quality is coming from the laptop the speaker is coming from, we don't have such fancy recording equipment for our lecture series. So there are a period of times, you can't hear the audience, and you also can't hear if they step away from the mic. So I haven't seen if it's really good quality, if it's choppy. But
I was recommending-
you can add it to the website. It might take some time. I don't know how to do that, but we have a contracted website designer who's helped us redesign the website, and I'm sure he could add a video for people
I
to
was
watch.
recommending to Jim that the town council contract with this guy, whose name I forget,
Dr. Michael Savarese at the Florida Gulf Coast University.
right, and that some sort of public program be made.
Yeah,
I
can we
think it's
schedule
wonderful.
him
Could
again?
we start with just seeing if we could get his lecture on the website so we can watch it? Just get
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You could easily just create a YouTube channel and then put the link right there, and you don't have to redesign the website or anything.
That's also
I mean,
true.
Yeah, so just make it
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah, and the town has a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, then that's
that
perfect.
exists.
It was,
I know, and it was really storming that night, right? And
Yeah,
it
it
was,
was
yes.
nasty.
I think everybody was sort of staying home because
Michael
of that
Savarese.
potential tornadoes. It was a
Yeah,
tornado warning.
which he did note he would stop the lecture if the tornado appeared. So it was very
we were all,
important.
we were gonna go to the underground. The only basement on the island.
True. Oh,
I'm sorry I missed it. I really wanted
me
to
too,
go.
I was sick. So, but I have a question for Jeff.
Yes.
I just, with the weather and
Thank you,
everything
Ann.
and stuff, I'm just wondering, has there been any action on the roof on the Mound House?
So for a while they were waiting on materials. Materials were hard to get, especially for this. And now we're just waiting on scheduling. We're still in constant contact with them and communication with them. They're trying to get it on the schedule, but they had some material issues with this. They don't make the material that we wanted, that was recommended anymore. So we had to go back and look at that as well. So it's just been a process. I know we even talked about it getting rewrapped if that's
Yeah,
the case.
exactly.
So Frankie at Town Hall was working with Crowther on getting it rewrapped.
Excellent,
If they couldn't get it done in time. But,
good, thank you.
For the next raid. She came tomorrow yesterday.
and now,
Posting
Yeah.
fees, so.
Other questions for Jeff?
So I thought we were going to ask Adam about some of the numbers on the mountain
Yeah.
house side of things.
Can I borrow some of this? Just so I know what I'm looking at. Thank you, Jeff. Do you have any specific questions, or do you just want me to
Yeah, that's
explain it?
Well, I was kind of curious about year to year,
Okay.
you know, for the month of December, say. And I do notice that if we were to multiply that by 12, we end up with almost 10,000. But of course, December is probably a really busy month compared to other months of the year, like August.
Are you talking about the year-to-date
Total number
number?
of visitors, 898.
So we only opened April 4th in 2020. So we were closed January,
time.
February, March.
Yeah. The big
so
months.
Those 3 big months.
Yeah.
How
Have you ever looked back to see how it was pre-Ian in terms of total?
Yes, in terms of our visitation, we are down significantly. So just looking at weeks, not any good qualitative data, but based on or quantitative data, but based on qualitative glancings, I guess that's the scientific term I could use. The weekly visitor numbers for admissions, usually this time of the year, December, January, if December is a good month to look at, December typically would get about 15 to 20 visitors on average a day. We're getting about a third of that.
Yeah.
Well, the weather's been horrible.
So
Yeah,
there's still a lot of things that need to get done in terms of improving the overall facilities. We're working on getting a sign on Esther Boulevard. We lost our brown sign.
sign.
And before Hurricane Ian, based on our visitorship data, about a third of our visitors were, we called them brown sign people. Yep. People who were impulsively visiting the Mountain House, not knowing the Mountain House existed, seeing the sign, turning down to Connecticut, and discovering this great place that we have. In terms of our data of who's visiting currently, the data I've been reporting since April on who visiting by zip code, roughly a third of our visitors are island residents. 1/3 of our visitors are island Fort Myers Beach residents. 1/3 of our visitors are out-of-state visitors. The other 1/3 is pretty much split down the middle, so 1/6 of our visitors in total are coming from Lee and Collier County, not Fort Myers Beach, obviously, and the other 1/6 are coming from other areas of Florida. So 2/3 of our visitorship were island residents and out-of-state visitors. So I think the overall tourism impacts to the area, only about 30% of the hotels on the island being open, and the surrounding areas being so heavily impacted have definitely took a hit to our visitorship numbers.
Let me ask you something, Adam. One of the ideas that was put forth for spending the grant money, TDC grant money, as you well know, was to put up, either to put up a billboard or maybe to rent space on one of the electronic billboards as people come on to the island down San Carlos Boulevard. Is that still something you think would be helpful for Mountain House numbers?
I think just starting with billboards are very expensive based on the research I've done. About $2,000 a month for maybe North Fort Myers, a back road in North Fort Myers. Not primo real estate. Primo real estate, you're looking at more about 10 to 12 grand a month. So that would pretty much wipe out any assistance we do get from VCB or from other funding sources. So I think I've been looking at various other marketing agencies, such as doing mail orders, or not mail order coupons basically through Vistaprint, not Vistaprint, Valpak, is one company I've been looking at, for example, in terms of doing basically direct mailing marketing, and also just having staff. We've been doing a lot of outreach. So for example, I had one of our staff members, actually, education coordinator, she was able to drive around and drop off hundreds of our rack cards to hotels who had not had them before, the major resorts. I'm talking like the name's escaping, the one in downtown, not downtown, the Westin in Cape Coral, the Pink Shell, all these large hotels that are on the island and along the way here in South Cape Coral and along Fort Myers. So I think doing a lot of these outreach events that we're doing in terms of setting up tents at community festivals and engagements, we're getting a lot of traction there just through word of mouth, and also doing basically those rack cards. We've already got a lot of people that have come by seeing our rack cards and have decided from seeing rack cards in their hotels. So we're starting kind of that small route, and hopefully one day we'll be able to build to where we can have, maybe television ads or billboards. But
Do we have stuff at the airport?
no, nothing at the airport
That
yet.
would be nice to have
It would be
something
nice.
there.
Do you have a question, Carrie?
Yeah, well, I was just gonna make a comment. I mean, I do advertising all over the country. So, very inexpensive way for us to get our name out there. Facebook ads, Instagram ads, they go together because Meta owns both of them. $500, you can get a lot of impressions for that. So I think that we would want to pick the zip codes that we would want to target, and you guys should really pinpoint that and really go after it because it's so inexpensive, and you're not having to pay for printing, and you're not having to do anything other than create the ad, hit the button, and off it goes.
Well, I think that was actually in the narrative for the grant, that
Right.
should be done. Is that being done?
If you look down at the
It's-
bottom there,
Well, I know, I see that, but that's not what I'm talking, I'm saying, are we
No.
doing actual ads, or, you know what I mean? To do the outreach. There's no reason for us to be printing and doing stuff like that, because anymore, that's just, this is a great way of getting in front of people, and it's so inexpensive.
Yes, and that is a part of the grant money we are getting from VCB from last year and this year. We use a good part of it in the data you see at the bottom is we haven't done any advertising this fiscal year for Facebook or Instagram ads, but the numbers in terms of the marketing reports from Spotify, that's the the Friends of Mount House
Talked about that.
VCB Spotify ads. That was from the last fiscal year, which included this calendar year based on this act.
So look how many people with impressions you have there that you could just go back in front of again.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a no-brainer to be, doing this.
Yeah. The only issue with the VCB is that it's through Lee County, so it's advertising outside of Lee County. So we'll get them from that end, but we also still have to focus on the
Go ahead.
in county. Sorry.
we also tried the Florida Weekly. We put, at the same time as we were doing this, they put in ads in Florida Weekly, electronic, and we did some geo-fencing
Yep.
with various hotels and the Key West boat and other areas, trying to once again do the same thing that you're talking about, but more ideas the better.
Yep.
With regard to rack cards, because that's not funded by VCB, so where is the budget for that? And who on staff is responsible for rack card production?
In terms of production, so we were able to get these rack cards that were ordered previously, so the town does give us a marketing budget. So there's money that the town gives us for marketing. And then we had just ordered 2 large boxes full of rack cards
Okay.
in going forward for the 2022 fiscal year, and Hurricane Ian wrecked those, so we were able to get those replaced because they were destroyed, obviously, from water damage. So that's where we got these rack cards, but mainly we've been using town budget.
And those rack cards, in terms of the narrative and the text, are still current? In other words,
Yes.
you just have
Karina and
matter reprinting them?
Correct. So Karina and I updated them, tried some new terminology, and then updated based on our current services and the direction that we are going, just based on internal staff decisions on quickly replacing the rack cards that we lost through and getting them reimbursed
Good.
and reordered.
Because I agree with you, digital marketing, digital media in general
agree.
is
That's
very
what it's-
powerful. But in addition to
grant
that,
is-
it's great to have those rack cards
Yep.
in our hotels here on the beach. Even if we just have 30% usage, unfortunately, but
And overall, I was trying to look up the number through TDC. I think we have 36% of our hotel rooms available, what we normally
Really?
would. So,
Just 36%.
And we're missing a lot of seasonal
I was gonna say.
Oh, yeah.
it's
And the
just taking
weather
us out.
sucks. What the hell?
the only one
Scientific description.
the only one that has a less percentage is Sanibel right now.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
That's
But
interesting.
we do have this in the strategic plan that staff is developing that will be presented to CELCAB. Marketing is a major line item.
Right.
Great.
And, I've noticed though on Saturdays and stuff, when the weather's bad, people are not going to the beach.
So they come
So
here.
I've actually had groups of families coming in.
Oh,
Which,
nice.
last Saturday I had, I think, 4 groups of families that came in. It's like, where else do we go? Okay, let's go to a museum, And then also, since the underground's been open, that is a big factor. And
Yes.
people want to see that underground. And can I bring up the documentary? Have you talked to Bob Height?
Have talked about.
Bob Height, about the documentary?
He just called me this morning. I have to
Okay.
return his call.
Okay, but there is a gentleman who is a former, is it okay if I?
Sure.
Yeah, a former anchor up in Tampa. He lives in Cape Coral, and he has his own company. And when was it? Maybe August. Anyway, he came in, and he's doing a documentary on the Mound House.
Oh.
Yeah, and
Nice.
he interviewed Adam, and he interviewed me. And now he's interested in doing the underground.
Wow.
And so he was gonna get a hold of Adam because we would have a lighting problem. I'll let But anyway, it's free, and it's gonna be on YouTube, he said.
That's
So
great.
that's free advertising.
When, is he gonna notify us when he puts it up on YouTube so we can?
I'm sure he will.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what he's calling you about. I'll say no
Great.
more.
Excellent, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. Yes.
Two quick questions, Adam. In terms of longer-term attendance, one of the variables out there that I think it really can have an impact positively
Mhm.
is the water ferry. Have they been in touch with you yet? And is that part of your strategic plan to find a location for the ferry to stop? Are you building that into your, I know it's still in its infancy, but.
And I'll just talk first on that one. We were contacted with them very early in the process. I have not heard from them lately about it, but I said we'd like to be included in one of those stops. And then Adam and I, know this was months ago actually,
Yeah.
talking about opportunities for the dinghy dock or reworking our observation pier to have a boat come up and just have a swinging gate or something. So we would love to still be a part of that, and said that yes, we would love to be.
I think you are, I would just to begin to plan for a boat that I think carries up to 49 people. Again, when the weather's bad, that boat will be packed, and they'll all be coming here for obvious reasons.
Yeah, that's why we're trying to get something more sturdy than the dinghy dock, whether it's maybe our current observation pier that we have, or something that has they can pull up to instead of having to come
I'll
in.
get you in touch with the owner of the water ferry just so you can kind of communicate what their needs and expectations might be. And second of all, just from an easy standpoint, you might want to think about, now that that lower area is open, which is kind of a neat, really unique situation, maybe have Nathan from the Observer come out and just give him a tour, and then he does a big write-up.
Right.
Have Ed do a live, Ed Ryan from Beach Talk do a live kind of walk around through that area, just explain to him the history, all be live, and 5,000 or 6,000 followers.
Yep.
Might be watching, it's free, and he's always looking for content, and Nathan's theyey're always looking for content, you just gotta feed them,
Yep.
so. Just
I'm
a thought.
guessing he's watching, because I already got an email from Ed
Did you?
wanting to post some things about Mount House.
Yeah, and have him go live tour.
Yeah, have them do a live
Thank you,
tour.
Ed, if you're watching.
It's priceless for us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are
it's
we,
all free.
we have no time, date, expectancy for the video?
No, we haven't. That's kind of been paused until. So the town has been able to allocate the funding for. Well, I always had the funding for a position, but we've been able to rework an existing position that the town has had, a full-time position, into a collections and exhibits coordinator, which is the title of the position, which would be someone solely dedicated to handling the collections as well as the exhibits issue. Myself and the staff, we don't have experience or backgrounds in fabrication or exhibits. My background's in collections and education. So really having someone dedicated 100% of their job to doing, not just in terms of expertise, but also time in handling not just the undergrounds exhibit, whether or not we want to have it as a video, as an interactive experience, as any number of things. There's a lot of possibilities down there, but also having that person on staff to handle the collection aspects, both in storage, creating an inventory, digitization, posting traveling exhibits, and all the possibilities, designing signage for public beach access, for Newton, and all those aspects. So until that position, which we are working on getting hired, we haven't moved forward in basically replacing the video, because we want a really concrete strategic plan in place instead of just
So that's part of the
replacing
new
it.
strategic plan that's coming up
But
sometime.
And that actually did come up at last month's meeting, or actually last October.
Yeah.
So it did say, I mean, I believe it was mentioned that a collection manager would be hired to document the inventory.
Yes.
But that was, so where are you in that process, and when can we expect that new staff person?
Yes.
And more importantly, is the town funding it?
Yes, so that is a position that is
Is
allocated.
in the
staff.
budget for
It
this
has been
fiscal
already been
year.
budgeted.
Yes, and it should be
Yes.
posted. I talked to HR about it last week. So we're looking at doing, I had a couple more that we had to get in there, but that was one that I said we were ready to pull the trigger
Yeah.
on. Let's get it posted.
Yeah, in
Okay, because
October.
that's, because all of that ties in. I mean, obviously, we've got a lot of loose ends with the Mount House, the least of which at this point, because we're now kind of, dealing with issues of marketing, but actually running the museum as a professional museum is currently not being done, and it hasn't been done since before Ian. And we need to be back on track with that. So I think this collection manager position is crucial. We can't, give a tour if we don't have the right stuff to be able to interpret and present. So, great that
And
we're
not only
moving forward
that,
with that.
we have a storage facility full of
The security.
items that need to be cataloged and,
Yeah,
that we don't even have.
you don't have an inventory, not even, forget about the digital inventory, the actual inventory numbers,
Yes.
requisition numbers, et cetera, but actually having a document, not only a document hard copy, but also digital for
Yeah,
future.
which we have an
for safety.
obligation to do all that through the state. because-
Yeah.
Yeah,
So there's a
collections
lot
are-
of work to do. And obviously, we at one point, when Teresa and Allison were here, we actually were working toward, getting museum accreditation, which of course was the next step. But because we don't have the staff right now, we're not getting that, even that early part of it done. Jeff?
You want to talk about the maps?
So the American Alliance Museums, I have it in a strategic plan, but the deadline's February 15th, so I'm starting to fill out the application. The American Alliance Museums, which is the governing body, it's a nonprofit organization that oversees accreditation of museums, such as Mound House, hopefully in the future. There's a series of core documents that are required, one of which is a collections management plan, which I'm halfway through in creating a collection management plan. We never had one to begin with. We never had an inventory. We've never had an inventory. So that, along with emergency preparedness plans, there's new commitments to diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's going to be a core component of accreditation. So it's a multi-year process. One of the first steps is kind of figuring the organizational capacity of the museum, whether or not we are fulfilling our mission, whether our mission is correct, how we are with our strategic plan, with our vision, the difference between the governance of the museum and the management of the museum, between, for example, council, CELCAB, and staff. So one of those tools that the American Alliance Museum has prepared and offered to museums at an extreme discount is what's known as the MAP, Museum Assessment Program. And that's where a peer reviewer comes down from a wide variety of museums, but typically they recommend organizational, collections, education, all separate maps. So the first one I'm looking at applying for the Mound House is an organizational map, whereby a museum expert who's skilled in organizational matters and administration matters can help us kind of navigate the, the council or the CELCAB was discussing it earlier, the sticky situations that come about this, very unique place in terms of staffing, management, governance,
And volunteers.
and all the associated parts. And that'll be a multi-week process involving myself, Jeff, and all of you. One of the big requirements is that every single member of the governance board, which I'm assuming would be CELCAB, would have to be involved in all of that. These workshops, it'd be 10 to 15 hours total over about a 10-week period.
Fantastic.
So it's a big involvement, but it's a really big thing helping us,
That'd be huge.
Yeah,
leading the
that's
path.
wonderful. That's wonderful. I'm so thrilled to hear you say that, Adam. Wonderful.
Yeah, and I just wanted to mention that because that's for us, that's the business end. That's what we need to do as far as running a museum and, and I defer to Adam to all that because he is so wonderful at doing all that. So that's why I have him come up and like I told CELCAB, I'm gonna rely a little heavier on Adam and Nicole, our campus managers, to come up and present some of the stuff. They're day to day, every day. We do talk about things going on in the big picture, but they're boots on the ground. They're always here. So I'm going to be involving them a little bit in CELCAB and CELCAB a lot more to give reports.
Well, maybe that could be, because I see on the agenda is the staff liaison report,
Yeah.
which could include you or Adam, or you and Adam,
Yeah.
but then that would require maybe a written report that we could check in advance. So if we do have questions as we're reading it before the meeting, we'll be better prepared to say, oh, Adam, I love that you're working on this, but I have a thought that I'd like to bring up. So that would be very helpful for all of us to be better prepared. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's my goal.
That's a wonderful
And
strategy.
I've been running
I commend you
around
for that.
so much with other projects, and they gave us
You got a lot.
Everything.
everything, Bayside Park, Times Square.
Right.
We have a new town hall going in Bay Oak, so it's just been a lot of running around. Not that, this isn't important to me, but the day-to-day stuff, I really rely on Adam.
Remember, that's perfect.
That's a great way to strategize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I have no problem if you find that your schedule doesn't permit, that Adam, because he is the museum manager, would be the one that would give the staff liaison.
Yeah, and that's what I mentioned to CELCAB too, that it might
Sure.
be Nicole to do
Yeah.
that, just because they're day-to-day. I mean, I can be at these and answer anything that's more.
Well, you've
global.
got so much on your
Right,
plate, and to
exactly.
be honest,
To
one of the
delegate.
reasons why Allison left was because she was given Parks and Rec, and, just running the museum is a
Yeah.
full-time job in and of itself, as you well
And
know,
although she-
and then some, so.
Although she had Adam here, she didn't have Adam in the position that he's in now.
Right.
as-
Exactly.
As museum manager, so
Exactly.
which is a
Yeah,
big task and stuff.
Right.
yeah.
I was just gonna
Delegate.
Yes.
make just a suggestion that we have a new staff, and I don't know how many of us have really met our new staff.
Oh, yes,
And I was
good time.
wondering if we could maybe
Yes.
bring them in for, our next
Introduction,
CELCAB
say-
meeting or
No,
something.
but it'd be overtime, so we don't want overtime, because they're not working today.
Oh, I'm
You have to
sorry.
come in and meet them, but you
Oh,
can
yeah, come in and meet them.
I don't want any more money
Yeah.
spent. It doesn't have to be.
Good thing. Think
So
about that.
we do, so one reason we didn't hire the collection, so in October, the CELCAB meeting, we didn't hire the collections exhibit person, is because the next step was hiring that second full-time educator to assist Ashley. I'm sure some of you have met Ashley. She's our other education coordinator. So with Ashley Shumsky, she's our education coordinator, one of our education coordinators. She's full-time, and her background is in environmental science. She has a master's coursework in environmental science with a specialty in the Caloosahatchee River, actually. So amazing component in terms of the educational, or the environmental aspect. And then our new hire, his start date was November 20th, I think, November 11th, around there. Yeah, time flies. Franklin de la Cruz. He has a background in American Studies and anthropology, as well as education, a former kindergarten teacher. So he's very much excited in terms of handling more of that cultural aspect, but they work really great together. Ashley just got certified as a kayak guide with the American Canoe Association.
Great.
So she's trained not just in giving kayak tours, but training staff and certifying staff in kayak guides. So not just for us, but also the staff at Bay Oaks. They have the bus trips. So huge possibility for the town in that regard. I can go into more details, but those are our two full-time educators. And that's really allowing me to really focus more on the education components, but also that those operational components, and hopefully that collections person will kind of round this all out, along with Karina, who's of course our full-time museum
Yeah,
development coordinator,
indispensable.
and then Sandra, who's full-time visitor services. So I think when we get this next full-time person hired, we'll have a pretty well-rounded team handling pretty much all aspects of what's required in a professional museum.
You just have to find places to put them in your tiny little
Yes.
space.
Well, we no longer have the park and rec staff.
Yeah. Yeah, we found a good situation.
So Adam's got a nice, cushy, big office now.
Yeah.
Where's,
Oh, you have,
where's
you
your
have,
office?
oh, you,
Allison's old office.
you
Oh,
do?
right, yeah, okay, good, yeah.
Really nice.
Well, that's
Oh,
reasonable.
so you,
Need a
don't
place-
have your book cubicle anymore, your box cubicle?
No, the book's cubicle.
Thank you for that, Adam. I have
Welcome.
one more question because I was again looking at last, the minutes. With regard to the fee schedule for the Mount House, that was supposed to be reported at this meeting. So where are we with that? The fee schedule?
The fees stayed as the same as they were last fiscal year.
But they have gone up last
They're the
fiscal year.
same?
Yes,
so-
correct.
Yeah.
So you reviewed them and you decided to keep the fee schedule the same?
The council did, yes.
The council did, okay. Because
They decided to keep a lot of it, even like Bayonne's the same.
Yes.
They didn't want to increase it at all. And in certain instances, they dropped some or lowered some even to help the residents out. But yeah, we can review that again when it comes budget time and see what we want to do with the fees.
There was a lot of budget
Crunch.
uncertainty, and that's why we kept it the same until we have a better sense post-D and how things are going to flow.
Makes sense.
Idea.
Okay, good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more questions for Adam before? No? Okay, good, thank you.
I do want to say that their staff, I don't think he mentioned that they're doing a ton of outreach too. A number of them a month that they go out in the community with the booth. I know that that's been helping too, so they've been willing to go out and wanting to go out and get with the general public and talk to them about
That's
Mount
good.
House and get exposure. So.
And you put out a call for volunteers who want to assist you in that activity.
Yes. Do I
And
hear?
I do hear it. I'm just back. I'm just getting my feet on the ground.
Just, I mean, if you've got an empty spot, call me. Never mind.
The dates were just in something that you sent out just within the last few days about the schedule of activities.
Yes, I can give them to you now if you want.
Okay.
I don't want to take any more time to count.
Okay, we'll catch you later.
Can we get those? Can you type them up and we'll just send them out?
Just
Yeah, because you
email-
had
they
sent them to us
emailed them
in
to all
an
of
email
us.
or in a newsletter or something, because I just saw them, and I'm just catching up on stuff, and yeah, so I'm game, I just have to figure out my
A lot
availability.
of them are in March,
Okay,
Oh,
so there's
there's still
time.
plenty of time,
Not tomorrow.
okay.
Okay, thank you. Jeff, anything more to report?
I don't think so.
Any questions for Jeff? Okay, then we'll move on to Newton Park renaming, and of course, we did all of that. And our suggestion was that perhaps that could go as a survey to the public to determine any of these three names that we had recommended at our meeting the last time. When I say last time, it was October.
That went out.
Last
I
October.
saw a reference to it out in the sphere.
It was out there,
Yeah.
yeah. We gotten some comments on it too. Some positive, people wanted to keep it, so,
you want to keep Newton?
some people want to, well,
Okay, yes, I
I
can
just
see
think,
that.
I can see that.
yeah, I just think the public in general,
Same old, they like what they
they
have.
like what they have, they know a story of the Newtons, and they don't understand how we acquired that property maybe, or,
Well, that's the clarification that I think is so valuable. Jim, what is your?
I've been thinking about this. The chair did a nice job of explaining it at the council. I don't think the public at this point fully understands that this is on the table at this point. And I would just say a couple things. My gut tells me two things. First of all, we just renamed Bayside Park to Bayside Veterans Park, which was really more of an addition than a change, so that wasn't terribly controversial. But right now at Murph, there's an effort by some to change or to name the critical wildlife area,
Oh, yes.
and it's kind of creating a kerfuffle, if you will. And there's some people upset about it, some people are happy about it, and it's a bit of a challenge, shall we say? And so I just wonder, considering this is a complex, there's a complex story as to why the change should occur, I wonder if we should strategically front load the site plan and the design work first, and then have something, a hard proposal on the table as to what Newton Park will look like. And that might help inform people as to what the name might be based upon what we're all gonna propose.
Perfect.
And then just kind of timeline-wise, plus we're also entering an election year. I like to call it sometimes the silly season. And so there's lots of opportunity for demagoguery and nonsense. So maybe as we get this, as the site plan matures and we get closer to that, then we kind of, I'm not saying we don't do it, I'm just saying that we kind of just think about timing-wise.
Timing is everything.
I agree with you.
I agree that, that's
When, at the program last Tuesday, he talked about the perfect timing and entrance of Ian. And he talked about the island, and so he said, it's shaped like an old archery bow, a kind of a fancy one. So in the middle, right, based at Newton, is this big half moon sort of shape, and then it comes up, and then it kind of curves back down at both ends. And Ian hit right there. What did he call it?
Armpit?
No, that was the other guy.
He called it an archery bow.
An archery bow, but that middle part, and then there were the ends, and I forget what he called it. The other hydrologist guy called it the armpit, which I would not suggest. But
Unless you're in 7th grade, then it sounds like a great name.
But what he said was that funneled the power of Ian and that part of the island, this mid part, because of the direction and where it hit and this half moon thing. That was the most, they mapped the destruction. But it was a fascinating program.
wow.
But then again, the shape of it is something to think about.
But he referenced Newton as being kind of in that.
Yeah, his research team labeled different parts of the island. So San Carlos, Valdez kind of use these landmarks as places. So between roughly Town Hall to Publix, he referred to that middle, I guess the most highest point or most curved part of the arch.
Yeah.
He called that Newton. He called that the
He did Newton, because Newton was there.
Because Newton Park was there.
Okay, I don't want to do that.
So yes, he said that is the red zone for the island
Yeah.
in terms of risk. And
That's
where,
interesting.
his recommendations, you can see in the lecture when I post it online, that's where the town, in his opinion, should be focusing all their energy and efforts, as that's the most critical at-risk area for future storms. And what Ian did, what I found was interesting in the lecture was, the most of the destruction wasn't the slow incoming surge. The most of the destruction was the fast ebbing or the retreat of the surge that caused most of the property destruction. And most of that has to do with basically Estero Bay got filled like a overflowing bathtub and the water got pushed out from Estero Boulevard and it flew. And he also did a lot of work on like dunes on Sanibel, whether these beach access points that kind of cut through the dunes and kind of creates channels for the water to run through and creates even more damage in those areas. Whether that's something that town municipalities like the town or Sanibel can plan for, or maybe like have smaller walkover parts of the dune or the berm. So there's a lot of science and research coming out of that presentation.
Right.
So is there communication between the council and the water school and terms?
Not yet.
I don't know.
They'd like
But
to.
there should, well, okay, so why not make that happen?
Sanibel has contracted with them,
Contracted with them to do what?
with this group to do the
These
study
recommendations
and
about
offer
the vote.
resilience planning and that sort of thing. Give them an overview of what happened, why it happened, how it happened, what they might do in the future.
The town is in the process of hiring some kind of a design firm to look at an aggregate plan for the island, particularly the downtown entertainment district. But there's a resiliency component to that, so maybe that's a group that they could partner with,
Maybe,
kind of have
yeah.
a coalition.
They'd be worth talking to.
I'm looking forward to seeing this talk. I've not seen it yet. Yeah.
I am too.
Yes, I think we all are.
What was the gentleman's name who gave the talk again?
It was Dr. Michael, he goes by Mike, Savarese, Savarese. He is the distinguished professor of a lot of things, but mostly hydrology and geology. and his expertise is coastal geomorphy, or the study of how water interacts with the coastline.
Is he affiliated with the water school
Yes.
at FGCU?
Yes, he's been
Okay.
with FGCU since it opened in 1997.
Wow.
As a sidebar, Becky, just for information, the beach school is looking to partner with the FGU water.
Oh,
program.
fantastic.
They have a special program, kind of a magnet school, to enhance our
Wow.
numbers at the beach school. Because we have such a unique location, and a lot of people are drawn to that, young kids who want to be marine biologists or whatever.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's ongoing, those conversations are ongoing
Oh,
right now.
that's
So
Oh, that's
and that would be
fantastic.
through the FGU, yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. All right, so we're going to defer on the renaming, or having that discussion about renaming Newton. Once we get further along with the site plan and that we actually have a proposal and hopefully we don't have to go to an RFP, maybe those insurance money that'll help cover this. But at that point, when there's actually something for us to present to the public, can be that conversation about why naming is important. So I think that we can move on. Friends of the Mountain House.
Well, I think we
Ellen.
made the decision that the Friends of the Mountain House reports wouldn't normally happen at this meeting. It would be at the beginning. So
Going forward.
we'll pretend we'll back it up. And so I'm here as president of Friends of the Mountain House, and I'm making my comments and doing public comment, whatever it's supposed to be. And I'm just saying.
There's more public comments, so we'll just drop down.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So we last met on December 18th, and Sherry sent wonderful meeting minutes. We are meeting next Monday for our usual monthly board meeting, and it will be followed by in-depth discussion of fleshing out the plans for the March 22nd fundraiser, which has been co-named at this point. We have to settle on that. We in the past had artful
Intersection.
Artful Intersection was our massive fundraising, and then last year with the reopening, we did Party for Preservation. And I think we have to hash through if we're confusing people by having, whatever. So anyway, that's a discussion to come. We're well along in the planning of that. We've got our caterer working on an auctioneer, and everything's. Location is here.
Okay.
Now we have to figure out if we can afford a tent or how we're going to do that, but that's to be
March 22nd.
March 22nd, Friday night. And it's on the community calendar, so when Jan Fleming pumps out information, it's there.
Okay. Do you have a goal?
Fundraising?
We'll discuss that next Monday. I think we need to be timid. I mean, before Ian, before COVID, I think the last time we raised, I think we netted 35,000.
I think that's what
But I think that might be way too ambitious right now. So we'll have to have that discussion.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we'd had some fundraisers along the way too.
Yeah.
And you have been partnering with, the Community Foundation and other group, the Women's Club, and so
Perfect.
there's
We did
been
that.
collaborative.
Oh, yeah,
we did it.
Christmas Tree Foundation,
Yeah.
and we have a hole at Putton Pub.
I was gonna ask
At
you
La
if you had
Ola,
one.
yes.
Yeah.
We're at La Ola on Saturday.
Good.
Is it this Saturday?
It is this Saturday.
I had to get it.
What is it this Saturday?
Putton Pub,
Wow.
10 to 4:30.
Sold out. Sold
Yeah.
out.
That's
Oh,
great.
wow.
That's great.
Okay, moving forward. Next meeting date, what do we have? For February, what is the calendar? First out here.
Before you set the next meeting, can I make another?
Sorry?
Before you set the next meeting, can I make another comment?
Sure, of course you may.
Public
Yes.
comment? Okay. Just more for you guys. Strandview parking. As I recall, the town had to pay a portion of that parking to Strandview. I have no idea why. That's something Ellison, I believe, had told me years ago, which made no sense at all, that part of that revenue was going to them. And it's something that should.
Was it,
Why would it go
wasn't
to
there parking
them?
on the side too, though?
It was parking
By the
on the
bocce and then in front as well?
Yes, there's parking on the front and parking on the side, but for some reason they were paying Strandview an X amount of money.
Why would we pay them?
I've never
They had
heard
to
that
fence
before,
up and
yeah.
everything, and they were so
It's something you
rude.
might want to ask Ellison about, but that's
a
what I was
good
told, which
question,
didn't make any sense why you would do that.
Yeah, I'd never heard that before, Joe. It's
Thank
really
you,
interesting.
Joe, for
Just
saying
look at
that.
it. And the other thing is, I
Glad you
understood
mentioned
that the
that.
state wanted that Newton Park back by May, or did they change that? They gave you an extension?
Originally, we were gonna get it back by May. The projects were gonna be done.
But they gave you an extension?
Yeah, we'll get an extension because
The state will give, the state will give it, okay. I was just concerned about
But we
that.
wanted to kind of get it back, at least where we could get a parking lot and some kind of, put on a report that we were giving a good effort to put vegetation back as soon as we could and that kind of thing. So
Can we not do it by May? I mean, is that like not feasible? I mean,
we could do it, but I think you guys want to do a study.
Yeah,
well, we want to see some plans, which that's 5 months away, so. I don't know, I'm just saying,
Well, the state has the property until May, is that what you've
But
just?
they don't, talking to Chad, they're willing to give us a piece of it. So
Okay.
maybe,
oh, just a piece. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
just a
I thought it was the whole thing.
no,
Okay,
so
never
this would
mind.
just be like maybe a walkway on the beach access,
Okay,
but we
then
gotta figure that
okay,
out now too,
gotcha.
so.
Gotcha.
So, but it would nice to get some beach walks going, which would mean a path to the beach. So if we can do vegetation, put some signage there, at least we can show we're doing an effort.
Because there has to be a certain number of public programming there, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean,
I
they
think
kind of
they're
gave us a little
getting-
reprieve,
yeah.
but it would be nice to get that back and do
Sure.
those. I think it'd be a good community outreach as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, the beach walks were wonderful.
Yeah, we just need an access to get back there, so.
Yep.
We're not talking putting up like
No, this is
a
tricky
row of
because
palm
it
trees, just
starts with Monday,
some
so-
little vegetation with a
Yeah, I know mine
walkway.
does that too.
Okay,
So are we looking at the 20th of February, which is a Tuesday?
I could be here.
Okay, let me clarify that too, because before the town clerk said that we could not call in, but in the last board cab meeting and actually last council, we had people wanting to do video, and so we asked the town attorney and they said, yes, we can do that.
Providing, number one, we have quorum at that meeting and that we get consent from all of the various advisory
Yes.
board members that it's okay.
So
that-
physically, we have to have a quorum. So if
Right.
everyone but Barbara's sitting here and everyone else wants a video, we can't. Vote on
Right,
it.
yeah.
no, that makes sense.
Yeah, so just to clarify that, I know before, I was even told with BoardCab that we couldn't have anybody call in or do a video one, but now we can and be a voting member. We just have to, before it starts, do a procedural, Barbara knows all about it, to do a procedural thing to have a vote that it's okay that the video person or the person remote is okay with it.
Thank you.
So
Okay, I will not be here on the 20th, no way. I mean, I'm,
just to be clear though, Jeff, are we gonna keep CELCAB at the Mount House because the new town hall facilities will be ready?
We'll do them all in the chambers.
In the new, so it'll be in the new town hall
But
chambers.
no, take that with an asterisk, please, because they're currently working on the town trailers, the new town trailers down at Bay Oaks. Well, we call it Town Square because it's a big square. Internally, we call it that. But in there will be council chambers. There's a quad trailer, a quad wide trailer that we're gonna set up all the video equipment. It'll be a permanent, kind of like the other chambers. I mean, it won't look like the other chambers, but we'll have a space for that we'll do all of our advisory reports in.
So the advisory board meetings will be in the same place that the council will have their
Okay, great,
their temporary
great.
chambers.
Like we had before with the
Yeah.
town hall. But we wanna make sure that that's ready, so
It should be by now.
So
it should be, yes.
I heard from several of the members that they can't make the 20th. What is our standing meeting time once a month? Isn't it the second Tuesday of every month? Is that?
And we can change that. We changed it because
It
of
used
the
to be
Mount House
Wednesday.
it's
hours.
the mountains.
Right, and so now, I mean, are we free? I mean, what is a month from today in terms of the date? Because I thought maybe it would be the 20th, but if the 13th works just as well for everyone, can we start doing that on Tuesday? Our regular time is Tuesday, no, it was Thursday.
It was
It was
Thursday.
Thursday at 3 o'clock. That's what we normally did.
And we
And we didn't, change the date
Yeah.
or the location. So now that we've got all of things up in the air,
Let's get it back.
let's have a board discussion as to what date works best for you, Jeff, and for the members. Because we can do that now. If it's going to be at Town Hall, at the new
Right.
chambers, we now know we don't have to be worried about staff time or being open to the public. So does February 13th work? Because then you can be in town?
Well, no, this is my only thing. I would love to be able to do it like on a Thursdays or Wednesday, just because Tuesday with flights, honestly, it's just a lot. Trying to get back in here because I fly in and out. So it's just like, if we moved it to a Wednesday or Thursday, that would be
How does
fantastic.
everybody feel about Thursday?
I like Thursday, and then we used to have the Friends meeting the week before, and
Right.
it was
That
very
was nice.
contiguous. And I like the Thursdays, that's
So
really.
should we-
And really, 3 o'clock, there isn't any advisory councils that meet that late or in the afternoon, so
Thursday,
What date
3
would
would
that
be
be
safe
then
doing
if we
that.
did it on
So
Thursday?
that would be, this is.
The
22nd.
22nd, could you come on the
First
22nd
year we have
though?
M&Ps.
in the morning. 9 o'clock.
22nd would be better for me.
I should do it on
Oh,
Thursday.
I
okay,
can't do
yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah, I know what you
3
mean.
weeks have you done?
Yeah, by
So
3.
is that the Thursday of
Yeah.
every?
That's a
Yes, the 22nd.
That's a
At
third
3?
Thursday.
3.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, so we're now on the 22nd, is that the proposal?
Yes.
February 22nd at 3 p.m. at the new town hall.
Woohoo! Maybe.
That's the plan.
Creek don't rise, right?
The last trailer
Okay.
just was installed, so
Okay.
we have to get plumbing and electric to it though, that's the.
Okay, and I want to jump back up to member items and reports, and let's begin that with you, Carrie.
I'm good. I'm happy to get things rolling with Newton, and let's see a plan, and let's make sure that everybody really likes it and start rolling on that.
Okay, no, but we'll never get something that everybody likes. But
Well, don't be a negative Nelly.
nothing.
Nothing?
Thank you.
Okay, I had mentioned to Adam before about the documentary, and this gentleman and his wife, or whatever, came out on Saturday, and he looked at the underground, because he's done the Mound House, and he wants to do the underground. But he's concerned about lighting down there, and so he wants to talk to Adam about the lighting. But he said he will let everybody know when he's filming and when, but mainly he has to get a hold of Adam. But I think this is a great opportunity.
Absolutely.
It's free advertising, and he said it'll be on YouTube for sure. So, very nice gentleman. So I'm excited about
Is he
that.
keeping you in touch with his schedule then, in terms of
Yes.
when this is going to be produced and aired?
Yes, yes.
So then you will
Definitely.
then let us
I'll
know?
let- Yes, and he's going to be in touch with Adam to set up all the specifics and stuff, so Adam will keep us
Great.
apprised of it. But I just am really pleased about that, so.
Absolutely.
Good reason.
It's good.
Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you, Sherry.
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing to report.
I have nothing further. Pat?
No, I don't, man.
Nothing additional.
Nothing additional?
additional.
Thank you.
And I'd just like to add, like, we had that conversation before, and I'm not gonna bring it back up about, the sunshine law. I didn't want it to come out like we're not appreciative of the Friends.
Yeah.
I didn't want it to sound like that. And it's probably me just thinking of the VORCAT conversation and, protecting everyone from whatever, but we are totally appreciative of the Friends. We love everything they do. The events are always great, so don't think that that's coming across as we don't want the Friends to be a part of us, and
No, we
so
have to say-
I just wanted, it's been bugging me all meeting now, so.
Oh, well, get it off your chest.
Yeah, so just let you know, we are appreciative of the Friends, and we couldn't do a lot of things we do without the Friends and their fundraising, and their help and their volunteering, so I just wanted to put that out.
Thank you, Jeff.
And I can only speak for myself, but I think everybody understands it. And I think the other challenge we have is post-COVID, post-Ian, we're a small group. So
That's
you sort of
Exactly.
need people
So
wearing
we-
multiple hats because there aren't too many heads
Yeah.
going
And then
around,
our
you know?
year.
We've
Yeah.
got to grow, we've
And
got
I think
to.
that's my fear.
And we had that problem before, and it made now even worse. So
Yeah.
you're absolutely
Exactly.
correct. You're
Exactly.
absolutely correct.
And some of us have not gotten back in town yet.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly, exactly.
Betty Simpson.
No
said-
That is
elevator.
another-
Yeah, me, we're in the
Exactly.
same boat.
Well,
We don't have one.
Becky's, she lives
We
in
don't have an
Bonita.
elevator.
Yeah, I live in Fort Myers.
You don't live on the beach either now?
Well, I still have my other house in Indy, but we don't have an elevator, so, I mean,
Okay, you're not living here either.
no.
Wow.
I've never lived here permanently, though.
Which is,
Not all.
But in your
Yeah.
residence
Oh,
area,
you're not home.
Yeah.
I know I'm home, but it's
You're-
dark.
You're
Your car's dark.
I look out the window and lock the doors, and it just,
nobody's home.
nobody.
I know, it's very abandoned.
It's, yeah, at night when you're walking on the street, it is pretty creepy
Yeah.
sometimes. You're like,
And we do appreciate the efforts of all of CELCAB as well. I mean, flying in, we have somebody from VORCAB that does the same. it's incredible the lengths you guys go to helping us out and be an advisory board for us, so I just wanted to say thank you.
Yeah, and I think just for the point of the Scrivener, I did want to mention that Betty Simpson does have an excused absence, but she was not in attendance today. But thank you all so much for being here, because I know it's a huge imposition that you have to come from off the island to get on the island during all of this horrible traffic. So thank you so much. That said, sorry?
Nothing. Traffic, that's another question.
Oh, I know, right?
But isn't it a happy problem to have again?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's be thankful for traffic, at least for another month.
Yes, yes.
Then we can go back to being grumpy.
Yep.
There being no further business to come before the board, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Also move.
All right, thank you so much, thank you. Meeting adjourned at 4:37.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Thank you. Listen, my wife has communicated with you on occasion.
Okay.
Yeah, we bet, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I love your book.
Oh, thank you.
My uncle is Jim Steele. And he-
Yeah, right. And my next door neighbor is from Indianapolis.
Really?
Yeah.
It sounds like Carrie's from Indianapolis. Yeah.
He sat down here. Actually, I hadn't seen him in 2 years.
Yes.
What's your home?
Get up with my jacket.
Very good.
And,